Well, these days when I do 2 videos 2 days in a row, you can count on it being unexpected. It wasn't planned to be that way because I rarely, if ever, plan to do 2 videos 2 days in a row, or 3 videos 3 days in a row, or 4 videos 4 days in a row, etc. Um, reason I'm coming back with this video after just doing a video yesterday is because I had a couple of things that people wanted me to talk about, or at least suggest that I talk about, if only briefly. So I want to cover a couple of things. First, I had a guy in yesterday's video. He asked me something about my relationship because I mentioned my relationship. And he said, I can't remember the exact words, so I'm paraphrasing, but essentially he was like, Alan, I'm very shocked that your relationship with your new girlfriend is going well, because you've said multiple times, going back to your blog talk radio days and even here on YouTube, that it's hard for you to tolerate being around women non-sexually. You've always pointed out that you generally enjoy women's company sexually, but when it comes to being around women non-sexually for a significant period of time, that tends to leave you feeling bored and or irritated. So what makes your new girlfriend so different? Valid question, number one, because I do have a history going back to my blog talk radio days. Yeah, I remember starting with probably 2011 when I did my blog talk radio show from summer of 2007 to summer of 2016, 9 years. And I would say starting with no later than 2011 up until the time I ended my blog talk radio show. I used to bring that up all the time. I used to talk about how I really didn't care for being around women in a non-physical, non-sexual manner. And since I've been on YouTube since April of 2017, I've mentioned it in at least a handful of videos. I know there's at least 2 videos in particular I remember putting a lot of emphasis on that. Well, the thing about it, if you remember one video, not only did I just limit it to women, but even men. I don't like being around a lot of men for a significant amount of time. I really don't. Matter of fact, speaking of that, I got invited, everybody knows I graduated from Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana. And one event I tend to go to at least 2 out of every 3 years is their homecoming event, the IU football team's homecoming. And that's coming up this weekend. And normally I would actually go. There's only been like probably 3 or 4 in the last like 20 years that I've missed. I usually go down there, but one of the reasons I'm not interested in going to homecoming this year is because, number one, a lot of my frat brothers who I would end up seeing, I've already seen this year. A lot of guys I pledged with, we got together in mid-July of this year. So I don't feel an urgent need to hang around them. And then just other people who I went to school with, I'm just really not that excited about being around them, just to chit chat and engage in entertaining small talk. So yeah, as I become older, as my brothers pointed out a number of times, I've become almost semi-antisocial because, and one of the biggest reasons why, as I pointed out, is because you should know from reading my books, I'm not the biggest fan of chit-chat, trivial chit-chat and entertaining small talk. That's just something that I don't like it. I don't like it, exceptions aside, I don't like it. But yeah, my girl, see, it's funny. My girlfriend, there's a term that guys use in the manosphere called a unicorn. A unicorn. For those ignorant to that term, what is a unicorn? A unicorn is generally in manosphere talk is considered a woman that is kind of an exception to the rule. She tends to contradict or invalidate many criticisms and generalizations that are thrown around about women, by many men in the manosphere. And like I can think at least minimum 2 or 3 areas where my girlfriend contradicts a lot of criticisms that I've heard on different podcasts and live streams. Particularly, I'll say more specifically as it relates to black women. More specifically as it relates to black women. For example, one of the major criticisms I've heard over the last 2+ years is that most black women are fat and out of shape. My girlfriend is anything but fat and out of shape. Matter of fact, my girlfriend is very slender. She's extremely slender. She's built though. She got a, if I say so myself, she got a nice shape. But she's almost built like a fashion model. Most fashion models are pretty slender. They got a few curves here and there, but they're generally slender. And that's how my girlfriend is built. She's very slender. So she's the antithesis of a fat or obese woman. So that's number one thing, criticism and generalization I've heard that my girlfriend contradicts. Number two is I've heard guys say that most black women are loud. Combination of they're loud, they talk too much, they curse too much, and just generally, speak in a manner that's, for lack of a better term, ghetto-ish or ratchet, as a lot of guys say. Once again, my girlfriend contradicts all that. My girlfriend is not loud at all. She's very soft-spoken, extraordinarily feminine. There's not like a masculine bone in her body. She's extremely feminine, very submissive. She doesn't have an aversion to the concept of being submissive like a lot of black women do. Now, even that's one criticism that honestly, even I will at least halfway agree with, if not totally agree with, is that number one, I would say a lot of women, period, in the 21st century, and particularly a lot of black women, they frown at the idea of being submissive to a man. Whereas my girlfriend is pretty much just the opposite. My girlfriend is ultra submissive. My girlfriend is ultra submissive to me. I don't know about all guys. Based on what she's told me about her interactions with some other guys, she hasn't always been submissive, but she's ultra submissive to me. What else would be some area where she contradicts? So yeah, she's not fat. She's not loud. She's not ghetto. But on the flip side, she's not bougie either. She's not pretentious. Because I've always said, man, I don't really like women on either end of the social class spectrum. I did at least one video, if not two, where I talked about that. Like, on one end, you have women that are considered very street in the black community, very street and very ghetto. I don't particularly care for women like that. But on the flip side, I don't like women who are real ultra bougie either, that are really like snobbish, pretentious, and bougie. And my girlfriend, she's not that either. She's almost right smack dab in the middle. On a scale from 1 to 5, if 5 was ultra bougie and 1 was just ultra ghetto, my girlfriend's probably about a 3. Yeah, she's a 3. She's a Southern girl, man. She grew up in Mississippi and also Atlanta. What else about my girlfriend? Oh, yeah, she doesn't irritate me because she doesn't. I was just talking about trivial chit chat. She doesn't really try to engage me in trivial chit chat on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. She's just very quiet, man. She's like, she pretty much only speaks when spoken to. And she's not one to just do a whole bunch of yik-yakking. So, yeah, man, I mean, yeah, you could arguably say she's a unicorn for me compared to some other women I've interacted with and past, dated, whether it be short-term, long-term. So yeah, like I said, so far so good. I'm sure we might hit a snag or two at some point in the future. Deal with that when it comes. But right now, I would say everything's going real well with me and my girlfriend. Okay, now I got on yesterday's video, I had about some challenges. I want to say I had at least 2 challenges from men and 1 challenge, interesting enough, from a woman. I rarely get challenges from women on things I say in my videos. I've had a few videos, handful of videos in the past where I've gotten a small percentage of challenges from female listeners and viewers, but definitely the vast majority of my challenges and disagreements come from my male listeners and viewers. What challenges and or disagreements did I get from men? One guy wrote me and said, Alan, you were talking about the 80-20 rule, and you said that the 20% represents men who can get women in bed solely and specifically based on their physical appearance, their looks, their seductive charm and charisma, and their seductive charm and charisma, and what else? Oh, and their sexual prowess or their reputation for satisfying women in bed. And he basically said, if that's true, I'm paraphrasing some of his words, but essentially this guy said, Alan, if that's true, that's fucked up. And he said, and you wonder why a lot of men in society are angry. He said, no man should be able to get a woman in bed simply because he's a good-looking guy or a charming and charismatic guy or he got a big dick. He said that's so shallow and superficial. No man should be able to get a woman in bed simply based on those 3 things. Because he's good-looking, because he's charming and charismatic. He went on to say that a man should have to achieve something to earn good-looking women. There's actually, if I'm not mistaken, there's actually a podcast. I'm not gonna say the name because I don't want to misquote this guy. But there's a well-known black male podcaster who essentially said the same thing a few times. That he felt like only men who are well accomplished should be able to get beautiful, sexy women in bed. And that's what this guy who disagreed with me on yesterday's video was saying. He said, I think, he basically said, I think a guy should have to be educated, have a great career, be making a lot of money, has done something to contribute to the benefit of society. He said, those are the guys who I think should have the easiest time getting women in bed. But he said, man, you could be a fucking convicted felon. You could be a criminal and be good looking, charming and charismatic and have a big dick. And even though I never specifically said that. So just to clarify, yesterday, I've never mentioned the size of a man's penis as part of the criteria for being in the top 20%. But that's what this guy, I guess he interpreted me as saying that guy's got to have an exceptionally big dick. I never said that. But here's my thing on that. See, man, one of the reasons I do my YouTube videos, man. I tell you, the selfish reason is to sell bone books. Period. I'm bluntly honest about that. The self-serving reason I do my YouTube videos and Patreon exclusive videos is so more people buy my ebooks, buy my paperbacks, buy my audiobooks. And in addition to that, purchase email consultations from me, Skype and telephone consultations from me, and one-on-one face-to-face coaching session for those who can afford that. The more generous reason why I do my videos is to wake you guys up, man, because So many of you men, based on a lot of your commentary and feedback you provide me with, I feel a lot of you guys, honestly, man, are living in a delusional fantasy world. And I'm saying that seriously, man. There's a lot of guys that I try to be as real as I can be. I take pride in giving you the real, even when it hurts. Even when it hurts. Even when it hurts your ego and or hurts your feelings. I try my best to always give you guys the real, man. I don't want to be guilty of just selling you guys bullshit. Which, to be honest, man, that's what a lot of PUAs do. There's a lot of pickup artists out here, a lot of dating coaches out here, a lot of relationship advisors out here that basically, man, they give guys bullshit. If I had to give one or two examples, I've heard PUAs literally say to guys, if you follow this method or follow this technique, you'll never, ever be rejected. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. There's no method or technique out there that's going to prevent you from being rejected. There's only one way, and I've said this before, there's only 1 to 2 ways you can ever just totally prevent being rejected by a woman. And that's, number one, just not to approach any women at all. That's one way you can't realistically prevent and avoid rejection, is if you just never, ever approached a woman or initiated a conversation with a woman. And along with that, number 2 would be if you waited for all women to approach you first and initiate a conversation with you first and express interest in sharing your company in a romantic or strictly sexual manner first. That's the one realistic way you could actually prevent rejection. But any method that involves you approaching a woman and you initiating a conversation with a woman, you're going to be rejected. In the story, you're going to be rejected. It could be as low as 5 to 10% of the time. It could be as high as 80 to 90% of the time. You're going to be rejected. Any method or technique of dealing with women where you're the one who approaches them and you're the one who initiates the conversation with them, you're going to be rejected. So anybody who sells you anything different, they're selling you bullshit. And you need to understand that. And I can name a host of other things, but for the time purposes, I'm not going to get into it. But I try again. One of my things, man, I always try to give y'all shit, real world shit. And going back to this guy's feedback, man, you're being unrealistic, bordering on being delusional if you think women are only going to go after guys based on their academic achievements and accomplishments, their career achievements and accomplishments, their financial achievements and accomplishments, and their community service deeds. See, this is what I talk about men being hypocritical. Do you go after women for those same purposes? Do you? Be honest. Do you go after women because of their moral character, their integrity, their contribution to society, their level of education and intelligence, their level of career success, their level of financial success? Is that your top criteria for pursuing women? Please. Most men, all they care about is if a woman is hot. That's what the vast majority of men care about. There's exceptions, of course. But most men, particularly I would say for casual sex, not so much maybe for a relationship, but definitely I would say when it comes to casual sex, the only thing most men care about is if a woman has an attractive face, nice tits, and a nice ass. That's really the only thing men care about. Why do you think women are any different? That's the question I keep asking. Why do you men think women are any different? Women care about looks. But again, you know my 4 rules, particularly when it comes to casual sex. More than any of the other 3 rules, particularly when it comes to casual sex, I know for a fact that's the number one thing women care about. Is those 3 things I talked about to do it to 20%. No one thing women care about when it comes to a casual fuck buddy is that guy, in their opinion and in their eyes, is that guy visually appealing? In other words, good looking. Is that guy visually appealing? Is that guy seductive, charming, seductive, sexy? Is he masculine? Is he dominant, which to me contributes to a man's sex appeal? Is how confident you are, how masculine you are, how dominant you are, and to some extent how kinky you are. All those things contribute to your sex appeal. So is he good looking? Is he sexy? And do you make a woman assume that she's going to have an enjoyable and satisfying time in bed? That's the main thing women care about when it comes to fuck buddies. Now, when it comes to, say, a long-term boyfriend or a husband, then some other things come into play, such as, is that guy financially stable? Is that guy good with kids? Is he easy to get along with? That's a big one. Is he just easy to get along with? Is he to some degree entertaining? Is he to some degree emotionally empathetic? Basically, in simple terms, not just a blatant asshole. And I can name a few other things. Then my other two roles, which would be platonic friend, has a totally different set of criteria. Pay for play has the main emphasis, of course, is money. When you're in the pay for play role, the only thing that really matters is how financially generous are you? How financially generous are you? That's the only thing that matters when you're in the pay for play role. Again, my 4 roles for men is casual fuck buddy role, long-term boyfriend / future husband role, pay for play, which could be a trick, a sugar daddy, or a financially generous husband, and purely platonic friend. All 4 of those roles have different criteria, which leads me to the next feedback I got from a listener. The one woman who responded, I made a comment in my video yesterday where I said, when I used my island scenario from my book, The Beta Male Revolution, I said, if you had 50 men on an island with 50 women and they were all forced to only engage in a monogamous relationship, then that would diminish the effects of the 80-20 rule theory, and there would virtually be no such thing as select or non-select. And this woman who watched my video, she disagreed with that. She said, no, Alan, I disagree with that. She said, I think even if you had that island scenario you spoke of, and the rule of the island was that all the men and women had to be in a long-term monogamous relationship, you would still have women competing for probably a small percentage of men. And the women who would lose out on the most desirable man would find themselves having to settle for the more undesirable man. So she said you would still have the delineation between, to use Ron Will's vernacular. Again, I don't use this vernacular in my books, select versus non-select. I more so talk about alpha versus beta. So I always give attribution to Ron Mills for select versus non-select. But yeah, she said you will still have select versus non-select men, even if monogamy was the rule of the land. Because she said women, and matter of fact, I've talked about this, and some women have given me feedback in my comment section that before the 1960s, that's generally how things were. There were a lot of women who ended up marrying guys that they really did not find physically attractive or sexually appealing. In many cases, it was because their father pretty much made them marry a certain guy. Yeah, their fathers made them marry a certain guy. That's one reason why you had the second wave of feminism. Because women were tired of their fathers or stepfathers dictating who they could date, who they could marry versus who they couldn't date and who they couldn't marry, and who they could and could not have sex with. So anyway, that's what this woman was saying. She was like, I don't think if society was all about monogamous relationships, that you just wouldn't have men who are more sexually desirable versus men who are less sexually desirable. It's just that a lot of women would have to settle for men that they don't really find that physically attractive and don't really find that sexually desirable. And I would generally agree with that. So I would agree with her contention about what I said. Women know what they want, just like men know what they want. I mean, to me, it's not rocket science. Women know what men turn them on, particularly in terms of like physical appearance. Every woman knows what man most turns them on. In terms of sex appeal, most women know what type of man turns them on. And sometimes it sounds like some guys want to force women to be attracted to men that they're not really attracted to. That's what it sounds like sometimes among guys in the manosphere, mainly guys who are romantically and sexually frustrated. It sounds to me like some of these guys want to almost force women to be attracted to guys that they're not naturally attracted to. And they resent that the choices of men that some of these women are attracted to. That's why I did that video last year called Many Men Are Natural Player Haters. Many men are natural player haters. You got a lot of men that's why you have men at minimum why men are so competitive in life, and at maximum why a lot of men are violent. And I talk about that in the Beta Male Revolution. A lot of men, man, they don't, if they're not chosen by a woman, number one, a lot of men tend to become angry and bitter towards that woman. And also, along with that, they tend to become angry and bitter towards the men that those women have chosen. Again, I don't want to rehash my story for the upteenth time, but, probably the one time I dealt with that, man, was my senior in high school, man. More than any, I've dealt with it really off and on my whole adult life, but definitely my senior in high school, man. It was ridiculous how much haterade I used to get from jealous, envious men, man. I mean, it just like kind of blew my mind, man. Guys used to just hate on me to the point where they literally wanted to start a fight with me because they overheard their girlfriend calling me cute or good looking or fine or whatever else, sexy, whatever else. I mean, that's just ridiculous to me, man. I ain't never hated on another dude because I saw women giving that guy more attention than me. I don't think I've ever done that in my life. What else? There was at least one more challenge from a guy I got over something I said yesterday. It slipped my mind. But anyway, that's going to lead me into, speaking of guys who are romantically and sexually frustrated and disgruntled about today's dating scene, a lot of guys ask me what was my thoughts on the movie The Joker, and more specifically, did I feel like that movie represented the incel culture? And along with that, did I feel like the Joker was mode 4? No, I don't think the movie The Joker accurately captured the essence of incels. No, not really. Maybe to a really small degree, but in my opinion, not really. If I was to really bust my head, I could probably think about 2, 3, 4, 5 movies that had characters that were more incel-like than the Joker. I'll tell you a movie that had a character that represented what I was just talking about, a guy just being a natural player. Have y'all seen a movie called City of God, based in Rio de Janeiro? Holy shit. Man, if you ain't seen City of God, you gotta see that movie. That movie doesn't even feel like a movie. It almost feels like a documentary, even though it's a feature film. But the feel of it almost feels more like a documentary. It seems so real. But man, there's one scene, man, about this like guy who's a street gangster. I forget his name in the movie, but he's a classic example of a jealous, envious player hater, man. he ends up, there's one scene, I'm giving a spoiler away in the movie, where there's this guy who's kind of like, a young, handsome, somewhat pretty boy type guy who got this beautiful girlfriend. And this street gangster man just like kills him mainly because he doesn't like the fact that he's good looking, just kills him, and then he rapes the dude's girlfriend, man. I mean, it's brutal, man. That movie, man, that's a must-watch movie to me, man. Again, if you haven't seen that should be on your list to watch. It's a movie called City of God. It's going to be all in subtitles because it was filmed in Rio de Janeiro. See, it shows you the more gangster side. A lot of people, Americans, when we think of Rio de Janeiro, we think of the beautiful beaches, the beautiful women. No, it's just like in any major city in the United States, there's a ghetto side to Rio de Janeiro. There's a slum side. And that's what City of God captures, is the more street side, the more ghetto side, the more gangster side of life in Rio de Janeiro. But yeah, man, that character, man, shoot, that dude was almost more treacherous than the Joker was. Especially related to what I'm talking about, the whole, guys being jealous and envious over another guy's popularity with women or another guy's looks and sex appeal. I'm trying to think of another movie I would recommend that's just heartbreaking. And this character wasn't really evil in any way, but there's a well-known movie called The Last American Virgin. Oh man, that movie's gonna break your heart, man. The nice guy, man, just gets destroyed in that movie. A movie I had my guys watch recently, Blue Valentine. Blue Valentine, man. That's anyway. Yeah, the Joker was okay to me. I didn't feel like it really represented the true incel, because not a lot of the movie had to do with dating and relationships. I mean, he did have this fascination with this black female neighbor of his, but that storyline wasn't really pronounced. To me, man, here's the thing I feel about the Joker, and I got to get a little racial here. Now, the movie to me is about just a guy who has mental health issues. That's mainly what the movie is about. And I think it's a fairly realistic portrayal of a man who has a lot of mental health issues. The guy, plain and simply, is mentally imbalanced and emotionally unstable. Plain and simple. And it becomes more and more and more pronounced as the movie goes on. But where I was going to say I have to get a little racial is because man, there's a lot of black men, being blunt, that have dealt with a lot of shit in this country, man. And that tends to be overlooked at times. And it seems like now all of a sudden that you have a lot of middle-class white men who are frustrated, whether it be financially frustrated, romantically and sexually frustrated. Everybody wants to make a big deal out of it. I ain't gonna go too lengthy on this talking point. I'll just say this. A lot of white men will be able to relate to the Joker more than the average black man will. Because black men gonna feel like shit. There's been brothers, man, who dealt with mental illness. There's nobody make no movie about it. I don't feel like that movie had the potential to incite the type of violence that the military was preparing for and other factions of society thought was going to happen. I didn't see that. I didn't go out of that movie feeling like, damn, okay, within the next few days you're gonna have a lot of incels just causing violence in the world. I didn't get that feeling. But who knows? So that's my thoughts on Joker. And then finally, the final thing I want to talk about is somebody asked me about a pickup artist that I honestly wasn't really familiar with, named Adnan Ahmed. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correct. His nickname is Addy A Game. Addy A Game. And his formal name is Adnan Ahmed, who recently had 2 of his YouTube channels discontinued right here on YouTube. He ran into trouble in the law, I want to say in Scotland, if I'm not mistaken, in Scotland, for doing what's known as code approaching. Code approaching. And somebody asked me my opinion on what happened to him. I wasn't, before yesterday, I wasn't really familiar with him. But the specific question I was asked is, Alan, since you seem to be a proponent of code approaching, do you think this sets a bad precedent for the state of code approaching, the concept of code approaching? First thing I want to say is this, man. If y'all remember, I did a video, and I'll probably include the link in the comment section, to a video I did about the dating coach, New York-based dating coach, Justin Wayne. Either last year or 2017, I did a video. Because a lot of people, if there's one thing I've dealt with, going all the way back to, I'd probably say 2009, you're talking about 10 years. I mean, guys say, Alan, man, man, I like your book and everything, but one criticism I have of you, you don't have any in-field videos. You don't have any in-field videos. I've gotten that. I've gotten it from young guys, older guys, black guys, white guys, Asian guys, Hispanic guys, whatever. Again, for like 10 years, I've had guys, that's been one of my number one criticisms I received, is that guys will say, Alan, even guys who like my books, they'll say, Alan, I like your books, but if I do have at least one criticism of you, man, you don't have any in-field videos, man. Most of the top pickup artists, they have in-field videos, man. And this has been my response each time. Number one, most in-field videos are illegal, and if not illegal, they're highly unethical. They're illegal and highly unethical. I can only speak for this country, because I know there's been pickup artists all around the world who've done it for us. So I don't know the legalities of all countries, but I know the legalities of the United States, because I worked in the entertainment industry. I worked in media and worked in the entertainment industry. And I can tell you right now, and this is one of the reasons why this guy, Adnan Ahmed, got in trouble. You cannot secretly record women on audio or video without their permission. That is against the law. You can get sued for that shit. Particularly if it's for commercial purposes. Particularly if it's for commercial purposes. And even if it's for non-commercial purposes, you can run into trouble. But definitely if it's for commercial purposes, oh, hell no. You can get sued up the ass for that, man. You can't secretly record people and then play it for the general public. That's why Justin Wayne got in trouble and had to leave the country for a few years back. Yeah, that dating coach Justin Wayne, that's why he got in trouble, man. You cannot secretly record women on audio and or on video and then play it to the general public without that woman's expressed permission. You cannot do it. That is illegal. And even in the instances where it's not illegal, it's highly unethical. Like I had, on a side note, I had a guy in the manosphere, I couldn't say his name, but I won't right now, who recorded me on a telephone conversation one time, man, and then played an excerpt on a message board. I was gonna sue the fuck out of his ass. He could actually go into jail for that shit. You can't secretly record people, man, and then play it for the general public. That's against the law. That's against the law. Why do you think, most of y'all should be familiar with Edward Snowden. Why do you think he's been excommunicated? Why he doesn't live in the United States anymore? Because he called out the CIA and an NSA for recording people without their permission. That's another story for another day. But look, do your research on Edward Snowden. But yeah, man, you can't be recording people. And then the secondary thing I've always said about infield videos is that at least half of them are fake. They're not real. They're fake. They're fake. I told you about, I was in a part of this group that another person in Manosphere had me get in this group I was only in there for a few days, man. It was this group of well-known pickup artists. And this one pickup artist, I could say his name and just really fuck him up, but I'm not. But he was showing other top-notch PUAs how to create fake infill videos using green screens. Green screen is what most movies use. Any movie that has like special effects or monsters or some type of thing like that uses a green screen, or similarly what's known as a blue screen. Green screen and hired actresses. Like this guy did this fake video, man, where he made it look like he was approaching this woman in a bookstore, when the reality was he wasn't even in the bookstore. He was in front of a green screen with a background that looked like a bookstore. That was number one. Number two, the woman he was approaching was a hired actress. I'm telling you, man, I would say no less than 1/3 to 1/2 of these infield videos that PUAs come out with and dating coaches come out with, that's just fake, man. Those women are fake. They know those women. They hired those women. It's just fake. If I was a bullshit artist, I could create about 100 fake infill videos. Because I know all about the entertainment industry. I know about filmmaking. If I really wanted to, I could create 100 fake infill videos. And y'all wouldn't know. Y'all wouldn't fucking know. Because my shit would be so precision, y'all would not fucking know. That's my secondary career is filmmaking, man. I know how to make shit look real. So if I was truly a bullshit artist that wanted to scam you motherfuckers, I could have, over the last 10 years, I could have had 100 infill videos that 99% of y'all would have never known were fake. Real talk. And that's real motherfucking talk. Y'all would have never known they were fake. And that's what a lot of these PUAs are doing, man. That's why I've never been a fan of that infill video bullshit. Again, at maximum, most of these infill videos are illegal / unethical, and at minimum, they're fake. Typically one or the other. If they're not illegal and unethical, they fake. And if they're not fake, if they're real, they're illegal and unethical. Because no woman is going to allow herself to be used on some. A woman who's not being paid is not going to allow herself to be used. No approach, no private conversation to just be, particularly if the conversation is about fucking. Come on, man, use your head. So no, I don't really have no sympathy for this dude, Adnan, Ahmad, Addy A Game. He fucked up. Plain and simple. He fucked up. And he got to pay the price. I don't think it sets a bad precedent for code approaching, because from what I read, this guy was touching women. He was being overly persistent and annoying with women. He was making women feel uncomfortable, man. That ain't got nothing to do with code. I don't teach none of that shit. I don't teach no men to touch women when they approach you or just be overly persistent to the point of being annoying. I ain't never taught no man to do no shit like that. And I ain't down with no guy, trying to record his approach and shit. So, no, I don't have no sympathy for the dude. He fucked up. He gonna get what he deserves, man. Period. End of story. And speaking of that, in my Patreon portion today, I'm going to talk about the do's and don'ts of code approaching. The do's and some brief do's and don'ts of code approaching. That's going to be in my Patreon exclusive portion today.